Hello and welcome to Stripe Defense Dialogue. I'm your host, Brigadier Rakesh Bhatia, and once again, my guest is Major General Harsha Kakkar, sir. Sir, good evening and welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. How are you?
Absolutely fine, sir. Sir, uh, as usual, brilliant article on PLA. So I thought I'll give you the trouble to come and explain it to our viewers. Why is PLA expanding, sir? What are the implications for the world, for our region, and for our countries? Sir, before I hand over the stage to you, I would like to just show few slides so that I put the subject in context. Uh, just a sec, sir. Yes. So this is how PLA was prior to the reforms that were carried out in 2015. What I want to highlight is there were 7 military regions. As far as India is concerned, there used to be 2 military regions opposite India. One was Chengdu and one was Langzhou. Langzhou looking after the opposite Ladakh and Chengdu mostly opposite Tibet. And they had four departments, that is general staff, political department, logistics and armament, and then of course four services, that is Navy, Air Force, the PLA, which I have already that is ground forces, and second artillery. After 2015 there was a restructuring that was done. What changed was that those four departments were broken into much smaller offices and secretariats, and 7 military regions were converted into 5 military commands based on cardinal directions. The five of them were Eastern, Southern, Western, Northern, and Central Command. As far as India is concerned, our area of operation was in Western Command. Second changes they did was that the services, Army, Navy, Air Force continued. Rocket was also there. They created PLA Strategic Support Force and PLA Joint Logistic Support Force. Barely few years down the line, this was in 2015, exactly 9 years later, sir, on 19th of April, they've carried out yet another uh, modification to the structure. Here, the thing which is most glaring is that the strategic support force, which was created in 2015, no longer exists. There is military aerospace force, cyber force, information support force, and the joint logistics support force continues, but they are directly under the Central Military Commission. That is under the direct political oversight of the uh, Communist Party of China. In this slide, I've tried to explain that now PLA organization is called 4 plus 4 force structure. The four services were erstwhile, as it used to be pre-existing, PLA Army, Navy, Air Force, and Rocket Force. And the four arms that have come up are Information System Department, Aerospace Force, Cyber Force, and Logistic. Now, what is important is that now these arms are commanded by an officer who's one grade lower than PLA's 5 theater command that I spoke about, as well as the four services. Previously, they were at the same, that is, the SSF was at same level. This probably would give an opportunity for these four arms to be more responsive to the needs of services as well as theater command. Unlike 2015-16, when 300,000 troops were reduced, theater command has spoken about, umbrella departments were created. Now, the information support forces has replaced strategic support force and has space system department and network system department. So, is it that by establishing this information support force, what PLA is looking at is to strengthen military and strategically take steps and establish new system of services and arms to improve the modern military structure within Chinese characteristics. I'll finish my presentation by one quote which Z said: "The new force is necessary to effectively support operations, information led, and jointness. Smooth information links integrate information resources, strengthen protection, integrate military's joint operation, and accurately and efficiently implement information support and serve to support military struggles in all directions and fields." Sir, with this, I hand you over with my first question, that is, how will this restructuring help the PLAs? Over to you, sir.
Before we get down to that, let's look at it a little bit back. 31st December 2015, Z announced the creation of the SSF, or the Strategic Support Force. The intent was to integrate cyber, space, and electronic warfare capabilities. Now, he used this transformation to gain his third term last year. And it was much touted as a very unique organization, something the world has not done and only China has done. It's integrated all this. What happened a year later after he got appointed as the president for the third time? Either in 2015 he knew it was crap and nobody told him anything, or he came to know the moment he became president that what I did was stupidity, I need to rechange. Nobody changes structure so fast.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense. And one thing that we tend to miss out, any change in structure at such a level, you are changing a theater command level.
Yes.
After all, the person commanding the SSF was equivalent in rank and seniority to a theater commander. To change a structure of that nature requires immense amount of deliberation. It cannot be that three people have decided in one night and next change it tomorrow. After all, when you change a structure, you break an organization. It takes time for the new organization to get set. It needs its own place. It needs its own hierarchy. It needs its own internal cohesion before it actually becomes effective. So if you're going to change a structure you created 8 years ago, within 1 year of retaking over on your third term,
Yeah.
then there is something drastically wrong. Now, what could be the causes for this? You can take multiple. I'd like to give China some benefit. Let me say that when Z created the SSF, he gave them as a task, develop the capabilities of the cyber and aerospace to a level wherein they can function independently. In 8 years, possibly, these capabilities have come up. And now he decided to split them. The second is that these are tomorrow's battlefield. The air chief has said that space will impact air, sea, and land operations.
Correct.
Our own air chief has said that. The CDS, in a recent statement, said that space is the next zone of warfare. And the importance that space is getting, if you can dominate space, you can actually dominate the battlefield.
Correct.
Now, if that is the scenario, possibly what Z was considering is bringing space under the direct control of the CMC.
Correct.
Now, what about cyber? Today, the world is talking of cyber attacks from China. And there is nothing that happens of China because internet is not available unless it's specifically given to you for a purpose. It is only the internal Chinese network. So in case there are cyber attacks emanating from China, it has to be with the support of the Chinese government. By bringing cyber under the CMC, Z is controlling the cyber security within, as also cyber attacks. Thirdly, which again I think why Z has done this is after the sort of the incidents that came out in the rocket force, where there have been immense amount of financial
Misappropriations.
misappropriation. One doesn't know how far it's true,
Correct.
but the fact is that cyber aerospace are both, as also electronic warfare, which is now either, actually that is the only caboodle which is slightly unclear. There are references that will come under information support, under the information force, or there are references that will come under cyber. Nothing very clear. But all these three are financially intensive. The amount of investment they need. And wherever there is a financial intensive organizations, that is where corruption starts. So it's possibly with that aim that this has been split up and bought directly under the CMC. Now, what are the downsides? Why it could have been taken? One is the famous incident of last year of the balloon, where the US shot the balloon down. I believe, and that is what the press has been stating, not only the Chinese press or from what you read around, but even the US has said that Xi Jinping was not aware
Yes.
that this was happening. And the entire fault came from the aerospace force. What was inside? What did the US get? Were they able to gain something out of it? They have made no announcement. They have only said it was shot down and they got some stuff in it which they are assessing. After that, there's been pin drop silence. Okay. I've been trying to monitor the search, but nothing is coming. And possibly with so many things having moved, that has now died a natural death. The second is the impact of the Russo-Ukraine war. See, the fact is, whose narrative is now being projected? It is Ukraine's and the West. The Russian narrative is not coming out in the public domain. So automatically, the fact is that if you do not project your narrative correctly, you cannot get support in operation. The projection of your narrative is very, very important. And this is something which Z realized, and the importance of this is the information support force. The tasking of this force will be to project the Chinese narrative in the public domain prior to, during, and post any operations. Today, you're finding the Global Times howling and screaming on the Philippine incidents. It is blaming the Philippines, no one is listening to, because the Global Times is known as a Chinese mouthpiece. Now, once this information force comes into play, you will find the narrative being projected from the Chinese side that this has been their area. The Philippines had crashed a boat there and they have claimed it since then. So the whole narrative building will start undergoing a change in the next few months. And let's be sure it's going to happen. When you start the narrative building from there, you will find a similar narrative building moving towards Taiwan, moving towards Arunachal. This is the way the Chinese are going to play the game, because today the only narrative building you and me read is the Global Times. Correct. There are one or two spokespersons. Nothing else is actually being used to build narratives. So that is something which we will now find a change coming. The other factor is that he's now realized that you need to create a certain amount of ability to support theater commands. Now, if you have to support theater commands and you have them at the same equal, the sort of support that you're giving to theater command from equal to equal may not flow.
Yeah.
Now, everything is controlled by the CMC. And everything from here, whatever is needed, whether it's cyber, whether it's aerospace, whether anything required for theater commands, the plans will be amalgamated. One factor that we also appeared to miss out, the information support force will have a very major role in projecting Z's thought within the PLA. Now, by doing that within the PLA, controlled by the CMC, and remember, the person who's heading the information support force is
Yes,
the
yes,
deputy of the SSF. And the political commissioner is also sidestepped here.
correct.
Now, this gives you a thought process that the SSF has not failed. Otherwise, the deputy wouldn't have headed here. They both would have been sacked. So that is how I take the plus point of China, that they've created this capability. And now they've decided to split it and exploit it through the CMC.
Sir, taking this point of yours, very interesting point you have made about the party control over PLA. Sir, little bit of historical connect I'll give, and then I'll request you to comment. Sir, Mao was supreme leader. He was a military leader who was involved, so he didn't have to do anything extraordinary. His personality and aura was such that PLA was very much under his thumb. Then came Deng. Deng realized that the Maoist thoughts are still prevailing. He had to go in for a war with Vietnam to, stamp his authority over PLA. And once PLA lost very badly, probably that's the time Deng came to more prominence because he was able to take PLA under his controls. Followed by Jiang and Hu Jintao, both of them they had nothing much to do with the military, especially Hu Jintao. He kept PLA in happy by giving more and more 2-star and 3-star. There were large number of 2-star and 3-star journals who were made that time, and the number had increased tremendously. So he wanted to keep PLA happy with giving them little bit of this thing, and he also didn't interfere much into the functioning. But everything seems to have changed with Xi Jinping coming. With coming of old thoughts, Chinese dream, and with little bit of experience, he seems to be after the corrupt leaders, trying to uh, again get back to the ideological training which PLA used to have. So, with that reference, what you have said, that information warfare is extremely important. When we talk about this, we also talk about three stages, sir, that is soldier, masses, and enemy soldier. Do you visualize that this particular organization that has been created, this is going to initially be tested in South China Sea, specifically against Taiwan, and then we need to study it very in detail to ensure that the similar thing does not happen in Arunachal?
See, what now? Two things. One is, what China has done now is exactly what we had done about a few years ago by raising the space command and the cyber command. But of course, how effective ours are, we still don't know. A lot of it is not out in the domain, so it's best not to discuss that. Now, the fact is, when you find ISF, you will find that it is initially going to start getting involved with issues which are current, which are ongoing. If you notice, every second, third day, there is some incident with the Philippine Navy.
Yeah.
Every second, third day. The other issue that is ongoing is Taiwan. Now, as long as these issues are ongoing, so this is where the initial concentration of the ISF is going to be.
Correct.
And of course, it's within the PLA. Now, we've got to remember, like you said, that the PLA currently today, you see, with the rate at which, there are a lot of things that have floated through the PLA. You would know better than me. They have major housing issues.
Yes.
The guys who come in for those 3 years are basically looking not for anything, not for a difficult life, but to get that stamp to go in for further study. Unemployment is rising. Now, and as far as Z is concerned, between him and a dictator, there is no difference because he's
Yes.
taken control over everything and anything in China. In fact, nothing moves in China unless he clears it. Now, how COVID was handled, you saw the sort of level of anger that floated out after COVID. And that was the only time when Z was forced to step back.
Yeah.
Now, even within the PLA, so if he has to gain control, he has to be able to push his narrative down the line.
Yes.
And to push his narrative is how you twist stories. Now, what is corruption cases? He's calling them corruption cases. Many of them could be removing any challenge that exists. After all, for any leader who is sitting at this power, take the two similar leaders, Putin and Xi, neither has nominated an heir, which clearly implies that you're in no hurry to go. And once you die, who the hell is bothered who takes over?
Correct.
But so that is something which is very evident. Now, if you have to project yourself as an emperor, then your narrative has to go down the line.
Mm.
And this is where there will be that you can play that narrative using this particular organization. And that is something that Z has actually designed it for. If you recollect, he was present for the raising of the ISF,
Yes.
the Information Support Force.
Correct.
He's chosen the number one and the political commissioner. They are people whom, and the setup is going to be that it is basically going to push what he wants. The design, the planning, everything is going to go through there. And that is something which you would realize, which we will see with time, that this will get very clearly evident the way it's being planned. The structures are being planned in that manner. We need to give it about a month or two, and possibly we'll start seeing the outputs coming in different forum to try and get the mindset to change.
Sir, between the two, as of now, do you visualize that his internal situation is shaky and that is why he is taking control and he'll first concentrate on improving his own image amongst the soldiers and the commanders and then maybe
Why,
look towards outside?
why are you talking of only soldiers and commanders? The Chinese economy is slowly going down.
Correct.
Unemployment is on the rise. If you remember recently, the banks were facing a rundown and people were not even permitted to withdraw their money. So you see that sort of pent up things are happening. And if you look historically, whether you call it the Arab Spring or you call it wherever there's been a revolt against against an emperor like this, it has been sparked by one small incident.
Yes.
The
The
Arab Spring, I think,
proverbial,
was the death
the
of one
proverbial
individual.
last straw on the camel's back, sir.
Possibly, the Arab Spring was one vendor being killed. Right. So everywhere and anywhere, it is an incident that causes it. Now, even in China, with the sort of control that they hold, there is going to come a time when there is going to be a backlash. After all, in any country, like in any autocracy, the ruler has an agreement with the people. You forget about who rules you. As long as he gives you a comfortable life and keeps improving your quality of living. Once you are not able to achieve and fulfill that agreement, as an autocratic ruler, the masses are going to go against.
Yes.
So the current sinking going down in the economy, so he has to be looking to use this capability not only within the PLA, but essentially within the PLA, because that is going to suppress the masses, but also within the masses.
Sir, What you're saying, I don't know why my mind is going to Tiananmen Square, sir.
I agree. That was one, but you see, that was crushed. Now remember, that time there was nothing like social media, there was
Yes,
nothing like a networking.
yes, sir.
Today, an incident of that sort happening can spread across. You take the university protests. Where did they begin? In one university. Now, today, they are in 5 universities in Australia today. They're in France, they're in UK, they're in Canada. They're going across. And the demand is same, divest. Now, in Australia, have they invested in US defense companies? I doubt.
Hmm,
But the demand remains the same, divest.
correct.
So, for things to spread in this age of in the age of networking is not difficult.
Sir, I will skip few questions and straight away my question to you is, sir, this military modernization, we may say anything, but it has a direct implication on us. China has emboldened what he's doing in Taiwan, especially Philippines, what he's done to us in Galwan, and what statements are emerging from there. Has it actually given confidence to him that he has now created a organization which is likely to deliver or take his call, and is he going to become more violent on his borders and in South China Seas?
See, South China Sea and the Philippines is a different ballgame. For him, he had whichever step he takes. If China doesn't succeed there, Xi Jinping is gone, and he's gone historically,
Absolutely correct.
right? So, to a large extent, they will continue being the placing, playing the game, projecting an image, and he's not going to rush. If you look, the PLA modernization is planned for 2035. Some say 2047. Some say 2027. Till he has to be certain of victory. At the same time, he is not going to take a step in a place where he's going to face opposition. Today, when we talk of the Agni 5, we talk about MIRVs, you talk about a similar capability. It's not easy to try and suppress a force there. So, here is where you will find a lot of information going, like the way it's flowing from the west towards India. You find the article coming out in the Washington Post, and you find
Hmm.
all this crap going on. Now, this is all the Khalistan factor suddenly being given a boost in Canada. All this is a means of pressurizing on India. Right? Similar thing, he's going to use the ISF. And every time they'll come out with something, we will jump. But if his interest side is going to be steady. Now, Philippines, he doesn't want to draw the US in. So the pressure that he's applying on the Philippines is pull out. And it's continuing. After all, there are two guys sitting on that island there. And that also on a bloody broken shipwrecked piece.
And,
And
and,
they're
and water
rotating.
cannons. And
So that
using
is
water
what,
cannons.
that's it. And he's using water cannons on what's coming in. So basically, that is the game that's on. With Taiwan also, he's aware that if he tries something, if he doesn't get sucked in, the question is when. So one doesn't know. But the fact is that these are going to be used to play mind games. You may possibly find more articles, pro China articles, coming in some of our magazines, some already come.
Yeah.
And you and me know the magazine that covers all this. But you will find more of it coming in. You'll find more of it coming out in a form that it doesn't officially project the Chinese mindset, but it defends what the Chinese have been saying. Whether it is defending the Chinese against the US, whether it's projecting the Chinese as being pushed to the wall, you will find all this coming out with time.
Sir, I am now tempted to ask you one more questions on this, sir. So, few months back, there was a report that the SSF and the Rocket Force, I think, have point blankly told Z that Taiwan is beyond their capability. So, is it a sort of narrative to kill that? That no, we will go for Taiwan, and there are certain messages being sent to the adversaries.
See, he's always been projecting that sort of message that I will take over Taiwan.
Correct,
The
sir.
concept that Z has been pushing has been trying to sort of influence the Taiwanese thought process. That is what he tried to do in the last
Correct.
Taiwan elections in January this year. Had the opposition come in, the sort of rift between China and Taiwan might have reduced.
Yeah.
But with the current party in, the rift is nowhere near reducing. So he is looking to try and push to get Taiwan to get closer to give up the concept of independence. Once they say we're not looking for independence, but we want to remain the way we are and we want to maintain the same ties with China, Z will back down.
But sir, थोड़ा सा deviate हो जाएगा. But my question is, Z has been or China has been offering them one country, three systems, like they did do two systems in Hong Kong and Sing,
Hong Kong का
Macau.
कौन सा second system है अभी? Hong Kong is
That's
back
right,
to
sir.
one system.
So no, the amount of trouble that has been created from Hong Kong is it
Uh,
set a good example for Taiwan to follow, sir?
Actually, and Taiwan is not going to fall because historically also Taiwan is not going to go on the Hong Kong lines. There is a concept, but I doubt it's ever going to happen.
Absolutely. No, having tasted freedom, sir,
Uh-huh.
Taiwan is like any other developed countries.
They're not going to go in for this that easy. So the
So
question is, how long is he going to push? All he wants
yes,
them to say is, we don't want independence. Now, the US
yes,
agreement with Taiwan is also very clear.
correct.
You will not declare independence. We will support you.
Absolutely.
Which means if China attacks, you have our support. If you declare independence, then we will not come.
Absolutely. Sir, shall we now go on to question answers, sir?
All yours?
Because most of my queries have been answered, sir. Now let's look at what the viewers are saying. Gaurang is saying, looks like this is a lot of hogwash from CCP. Z merely wants closer control over his PLA. He faced greatest threat from SSF, not being under his direct control.
See, SSF was directly under the CMC. There's nothing which is not under the CMC.
Yes.
But the point was the branches of the SSF, which are today getting to be, need to be powerful, were not under his direct control. He had to go through layers. What he's done is he's removed the layers. Now he's got them directly under. That is what he wanted.
Yeah.
He's
Absolutely.
just cut off the top layers.
Correct. JBJP, sir. Ask Rocket Force is fourth branch of PLA. How many major powers? Bharat, we don't have fourth branch as Rocket Force, be it USA, Russia, UK, France, Japan, Israel, and Pakistan. Your views.
See, the rocket force, like we are now raising the integrated rocket force. We are also raising an IRF, a strategic forces command, which basically deals with the nuclear missiles and the other strategic missiles, basically, I would say. The integrated rocket force is already being raised, and the level of its distribution further down the line, we don't know. Whether it's going to be an all armed service force, will it be largely controlled by the army with representatives from the others, we're not clear. But we are raising an integrated rocket force, and that's on the card. That's already been announced.
Sir, here's another very interesting question. So I was tempted to ask you your views on this. Can there be a military coup against Xi Jinping? I
See,
always wonder how can one man Z control a nation of 1.4 billion people with an iron fist for forever? Can nobody ever come out of fear of Z?
it's happened in Italy during Mussolini's time. It's happening in China all the way through. It happens in North. It's happening in North Korea. Never will a person who is not fiercely loyal ever rise in the military. Secondly, in these countries, the networking is such that even a whiff of a coup and people vanish.
Correct.
It's happened in North Korea when the guy has killed his own uncle, whom he thought was even contemplating or dreaming of a coup. So, I mean, the sort of way these countries are run, it is every man chosen is yours. The man is under permanent fear that if someone opens his mouth, he goes. So, what you do is you're ruling by fear, and at every level, the guy on top is ruling by fear. That's how the systems work.
And he was not even selected as president when that Bosalai incident happened, and the
Huh?
exemplary way he took on him. That time, at one stage, it seemed that Z is never going to come in power. So, go on to the next question, sir. Ask the PLA peacekeepers have run away from danger on occasion, and their navy is hiding from anti-piracy operations. What's the point of shake-up if soldiers are coward, or is Z telling them to back off?
See, I mean, before I take on this question, there was something that I was asked in one of these YouTube discussions 2 days ago. The China has launched a third aircraft carrier. I said, have you seen one of its two aircraft carriers come into the Indian Ocean? I mean, if you're creating aircraft carriers and you're going to keep them roaming around in the South and East China Sea, then why the hell have you made aircraft carriers? Now, as far as the PLA is concerned, we discussed it earlier also. It's a 3-year period you come in for. You are not here, none of them come in here to actually fight seriously. Secondly, China doesn't want to display its weakness in equipment. The Chinese ships with the Pak Navy are all almost sitting ducks.
Yes.
Spare parts, manage. I mean, you copied the technology, but you haven't mastered the technology. Those are problems. And secondly, China doesn't want to show a weakness when it comes out in the forefront. So it stays away from projecting its weakness. The point is, as long as you don't know its weakness, you always believe it's strong. It's
Yeah.
only when you come front to front do you understand the weakness. In fact, till Galwan happened, the
Hmm.
Indian army always considered the Chinese as something different. But today we consider them as chocolate soldiers because you know exactly what they're capable of. So that sort of a difference comes in only when you come into contact.
Yeah.
And that is what China tries to keep its people away from. But the fact
Sir?
is that the guys are not trained, they're not built
Yeah,
in.
absolutely.
And
Sir, that's
the,
what I wanted to add. There is a proverb, I'm forgetting the exact name, but they say the person जो जिंदगी में कुछ नहीं कर सकता, he becomes a soldier. So this is a Chinese way of saying it.
and no doubt,
It's
and
not
the
a very
fact is,
attractive proposition, sir.
and the fact is, you see, it's a single child family. So there's a
Yes,
world of a difference in that sort of a concept.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So there are a number of issues in the. I mean, I met the Chinese guys like who were with us in Mozambique. The Chinese officers who were observers with us in Mozambique. None of them were permitted to bring their families out because the families were kept there in China as
As a
security
bait. That's
that
it.
this guy doesn't go.
Absolutely. Sir, all these officers and men who come on courses abroad, what you're saying, they are properly tasked, though most of the
Ah,
countries do it, but वो तो घबराते हैं, sir. I mean, people have said, कि, tell me something about who are you, because I have to go back and report to the political department. You know, so their commissars are so
ah.
Sir, next question we take on, sir. Neeraj, what is India's strategy in restructuring aftermath of Ukraine-Israel Red Sea crisis during peacetime? India yet to learn the lesson. Nothing moving.
No, there's a lot that's moving, and
Yeah,
let's leave it
sure.
at that without getting into it. But there's a lot that's moving. You have
Correct.
picked up lessons, you've carried out a lot of analysis. What should be your stocking profile? What should be your industry profile? Where should the concentration of what is the sort of equipment that is needed now? And to drop it off in a simple sentence, the IRF is a fallout of lessons that have flown from wars. So let's leave it. There's a lot of restructuring, there's a lot of thinking going on, there's a lot of strategic thought going in as to how to handle your future crisis. Which is why, if you realize today, we've got 20 ships floating in the Indian Ocean.
Correct.
And the world knows today as to what India's naval power is.
Sir, next question, sir. We have to hurry up. I think ekdam flood aa gaya, sir. Ekdam. Okay, Sam Keating, sir. With regards to SCS and daily water cannon and laser assaults on Filipino ships, what exactly is the Chinese game plan? These ships haven't fought a war since 1979, yet are actively trying to start one.
I don't think they're looking to start a war. What they're trying to do is pressurize the Philippines into backing out from the shore. They are wary of starting a war because the US and Philippines have got a defense agreement. Philippines, Japan, South Korea. These are the three countries with whom the US has got a defense agreement. So you get into war with one of them, you have to draw in the US, which is not what China wants to do at this stage. Secondly, the point is, it is applying pressure on the Philippines. Yeah, just drop that shoal, yeah, let it go. Let's keep it. What are you gaining by keeping two guys there? So it's actually putting pressure on Philippines. There are times when it has tried to bribe the Philippine leadership into agreeing to these conditions. It has attempted to do that. But the fact is that that issue, the way the approach that they've taken has built up that sort of feeling within the Philippines of nationalism. Now nobody can back down. Had China not taken an aggressive approach, possibly the Philippines may have backed down after being bribed or being, given something in lieu or some other sort of a carrot it could have resolved. But by these assaults, it actually pushed its own situation into a tougher mode.
Absolutely, sir. Domestic pressure on the Filipino leaders will not let it happen.
No.
वो तो इज्जत की बात हो जाती है सर अब तो. Future DGRT, sir. Ask all this is fine, but now does he deal with corruption that has obfuscated deep into all PLA ranks? Will recent death sentence serve as a deterrent, or will PLA's alleged quality go down the drain?
See, the fact is, in the PLA, you get promoted for your loyalty to Z. Nothing else, number one. Number two, is this corruption? Or is it removing someone whom you feel it could be a threat, or is contemplating an action which you don't want? You don't know. Is what China announces, we read and we swallow.
Correct.
Nothing really flows from within because of the sort of close society and network that goes on. To give a death sentence, remove a guy, to throw him behind, people have come from abroad to China and they vanished, nobody knows where. So that's how the close society works. But the fact is, corruption, especially in an authoritarian regime, will never die down. All people, in fact, there are so many within the inner circle who own flats and houses in Hong Kong, and inputs keep coming from different sources. And that this is a fact, nobody can remove it. Corruption is a global phenomenon. You just can't touch it.
Absolutely. The next question is from Aksha, who says, ask politician president create second problem to hide first problem. Question is, will Z able to keep everything in limbo and stay away from accidentally attacking and starting a war?
Basically, his aim is not to start a war. His aim is only to apply pressure to push countries to accept their terms and conditions. The old Chinese philosophy, you should aim to win without fighting. And that's what he's up to, applying pressure, applying pressure, applying pressure. With India, what is it now? You've come in that zone, which is neither this side nor that side. Now you want to stick on there and you want to say this is the new line. That's what it is, application of pressure.
Qadiani Azhar, What's your opinion on growing military cooperation between China and Pakistan? Recently, China handed over a new submarine to Pakistan
China
military.
has launched the submarine. It hasn't handed it over yet. Let it come first. The question is, as it is, the 4 Chinese ships that Pakistan has are still fighting for spare parts. That's why they haven't sailed out anywhere in the Red Sea. They
Correct.
haven't sailed out anywhere in support. Yes, but the only thing good that China will do is it will take over Gwadar port and make it into a naval base, and Pakistan can do nothing. Pakistan's already given it on lease for 40 years to China. It has said it will not be a naval base, but China will make it into a naval base. That, of course, will add pressure on the US, as also for India, it will be a matter of concern. But for Pakistan, you've lost a base. You can keep holding on.
RP sir, PLA undergoes major restructuring as it for war. Why are we slow? Mixed up, confused, mountain to infantry, back to mountain, strike, west to north, theatre still in liquid form. Is Indian Army adopted Vikas
I,
Bharat 2047?
if you restructure too fast,
Yeah, that's right,
it
sir.
doesn't make sense, which is what China is attempting to do. It still hasn't stabilized its theater commands. There are issues. You create an SSF, you break it down. Now you created independent 3 setups. They're going to take time to stabilize. In our case, we are moving slow because there are multiple issues, mainly the inter-service concern, mainly the question of control and power. But once you get over, possibly once the elections are over in June, that one push is going to come from top and everything will take a turn in 6 months.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised in the next 6 to 8 months after June. Once the new government comes in, everything and anything will change. And what is so far going dilly-dallying will get sorted out.
Absolutely. I remember, sir, there was a book by, I think, Blasco, who had once said that China is creating so many theories and doctrines, and any doctrine is not successful till the last man who's involved in, in fulfilling the requirement, he doesn't get trained. So just imagine, sir, theater command. I mean, 9 years is no time for
It
SSF
takes
you
time.
created. It takes a lot of time.
A
Similarly,
lot
you
of
were
time.
mentioning about. So you were mentioning about the aircraft carrier. No, moving an aircraft carrier through the channels that they have, it's a huge exercise, and they have no
You see, not only
experience.
an aircraft carrier never moves alone. It moves with a
That's right.
complete fleet.
That's right.
Right.
Correct.
And when you move with a fleet, the whole thing has to be a coordinated action.
Absolutely.
We haven't seen that coordinated action coming out of China anyway.
In fact, Indian Navy has been operating the aircraft
Since the
carrier for
60s.
ages. For
Ah,
ages.
that's how you've been able to develop the sort of operation.
Absolutely.
And here, this is what the Chinese are still working.
Yes. Sir, I think we have done. Sir, a question or le lete hain, though it's a
Uh-huh.
repetition. Chinese billionaire videos keep pop out once in a 2 years. It was Chinese billionaire who made this. China will CCP eat the rich to stay alive?
The same policy, grab from the rich, give to the poor.
Yes.
But that is one of the reasons why the Chinese economy is going down.
Yeah.
Investors are not coming in. The businesses within are not putting in more. People who can pull out are moving it out. So that is one of the reasons why the Chinese economy is suffering, which is why unemployment is rising.
And moreover, sir, I think the present CCP has also taken decision that no more that non-performing loans, excusing those loans and all. They're recovering that money because their own economy is in doldrums.
It's in doldrums. It is going through a very rough patch. The fact is that there's a lot of cover up going.
And that you mentioned about the housing scheme, the GDP seems to be more than what it is. Moment money is spent into infrastructure. But now there are no returns of that.
What is coming out evident why the economy is dropping is you look at the investment in the BRI.
Yes.
If you don't have money within, when you had surplus money within, you are investing it into BRI.
Yeah.
When you don't have surplus money inside, you can't invest in BRI. The investments are dropping because you don't have the funds.
Absolutely. Sir, with this, I think we should close today's session. It was a wonderful discussion personally for me. I learned a lot of new things, new ideas have emerged. I'm sure our viewers have also liked it, sir. And thank you very much, sir. And till we see you
Total
again
pleasure.
very soon, sir. Thank you, sir.
Total
Keep
pleasure.
writing,
Thank
sir.
you.
Keep posting. And we are happy reading your first thing in the morning. I get a message from you that your new
Now I'm going to
article.
start doing it in the evening. Yeah, subah it affects me when I'm getting ready early in the morning.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. And
Done?
Jai Hind.
Okay. Bye.